haven't seen my head. Must have fallen off the chopping block, must be close to dead. Must be off my rocker, and it must be time for bed. Can I sleep here tonight? Promise that I won't fight. Rhode Island red, you done ruffle my feathers one too many times. Get your tail out the coop. Mama orders when you eat a chicken soup. That's what she said, Rhode Island red. Little sister, you gotta leave your door unlocked. Just left Cincinnati, I left them good and rock. Left my key at the motel, so don't leave me chicken pox. Please don't leave me blue, and I promise I'll be true. Rhode Island red, you done ruffle my feathers one too many times. Get your tail out the coop. Mama gonna turn you into chicken soup. That's what she said, Rhode Island red.
We're just a bunch of kids going to school at Winona State, and we're trying to put a band together. You know, just playing a lot of Stones and replacements. And we got done rehearsing one day, and we looked over by the door, and someone had slid a letter under the door. It said he was an 18-year-old kid, had a Charvel guitar and a PV amp with a lot of kick. He was up for some AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin, whatever. He said he just wanted to play. 1 month later, you know, we're playing at parties, and then 6 months later, we're playing at a Spring Fest with 5,000 people. It was just a real quick, fast, great ride. You know, the one thing every band has in common is that first time they get some sounds right together. And, you know, you could be the world's biggest band or just 5 kids in a garage. And all bands share that experience, and we definitely had that. But Jason was the talent, and now he had some experience, which he used when he went up to St. Olaf and met all the guys that would form the Big Woo.
When I was in 1991, I transferred to St. Olaf from Winona State, and they put me in a freshman dorm for some reason. But I distinctly remember wandering upstairs and hearing Chris Castino playing some Allman Brothers, because he was in one of the rooms above me and Terry was in another room above me.
So he was a little bit older, you know, and he had some tapes that he had made for some friends and called Hodgepodge in Winona, and so he was, you know, he also knew how to be in a band, you know. So when I got there and I started jamming with Jason, I didn't have any equipment. I had nothing with me. I had an acoustic guitar, but I didn't really play guitar, and so I was foraging with like bottles, you know, and like little toy makers, garbage cans like flipped upside down. I somehow maybe got a pair of drumsticks from somewhere. Maybe I brought a pair of drumsticks, I don't remember. Couldn't bring a drum set, but maybe I brought sticks.
And then going to St. Olaf College freshman year right away, I felt like there was a lot of momentum with me playing music. And then I came to St. Olaf, and I'm like, oh, music is totally different here. Their whole concept of music is very strict and choral, but I was a little scared. I felt like this isn't really the direction I'm headed. And Jason Flatiger was a transfer from Winona State, and he was playing the Allman Brothers or something in his dorm, and I walked by and we started chatting.
So we had practiced like the fall and got our space and went home for Christmas and came back in February, and I think we wanted to do a show. The St. Olaf was going to do a Valentine's Day party, and they needed bands to play. So we submitted our band, even though we didn't have a name, and they called us and said, well, you're on the bill, so we need a name.
So the Big Woo is definitely, I mean, it's from a movie called Joe versus the Volcano, and I remember watching it and thinking that would be a cool name for a band. I don't know why. I have no idea why at all. It just sort of popped into my head.
And that's how it all happened. You know, the Joe versus the Volcano movie. We were watching it that weekend before, and the movie was over, and we all just, the lights were up, and Jason said, "Well, what about the Big Woo?" And everybody just sort of was like, well, "That's the best name we got so far," because we didn't really have any. We had like maybe 3 or 4 that we were tossing around, and we thought that's fine, you know, Big Woo. It's called the Big Woo. So the next Monday, they put the poster up. It said Big Woo, W-O-O. And I had Beth go up there with some markers in the cafeteria and take the 2 O's and make them into a U, and then put an umlaut in the middle. So it ended up being the Big Woo with a U.
The way I met the Big Woo was actually from before the Big Woo started. I had a band, just some dudes in Northville, some guys. You don't have a lot of choices who you play with, so you grab your friends, you start a band. And we were playing a gig at Grundy's Upstairs Rubenstein, owned by Mark Grundhofer's father. And basically, we didn't have a singer. It's what we were doing is you come up and you sing, we'll buy you a drink. And somewhere in the show, this kind of diminutive, 5'6" bald dude with no shirt on, he gets up and he's like, Jimi Hendrix, Foxy Lady. So we yell, and this guy just takes on the stage, just jumping and everything, is just engaging the crowd, Foxy, it's just like this kind of one-man animal that was running around. And he's clearly the coolest dude sat in with us all night. And he was leaving, and I grabbed him. I'm like, what's your name? What's your name, dude? I want to be in a band with you. He's like, Terry Vander Hoogen's going to go. I'm going to say almost. Fast forward to Valentine's Day when the Big Woo started, and I think I saw Terry, and he said, "Hey, my band's doing this gig at this upstairs room." At the time, my girlfriend's apartment was next door. If this is the stage at this her bedroom's right there. She was gone, and so I didn't have a date that night. Long story short, I walk in and I watch the band, and they're pretty good. They had 2 drummers. It wasn't quite hitting, and I remember Castino was playing bass, and Flagger was playing guitar, and there's some other dudes in the band. It wasn't even like the lineup. That lineup kept changing, but Terry, Chris, and Jason.
I don't know if that was right. I don't know. I might have played a few shows as a bass player with the Big Woo, because when we were rehearsing, I was playing bass, and I think by the time the first show came, I was on guitar, because Jason and I had been messing around with the Allman Brothers and trying to work out the 2 guitar parts. Yeah, Jason was really encouraging for me to play guitar. I think it's because I was teaching, because Jason had been a guitar player for a long time, but I think I brought a different perspective in, and I was able to teach him things, which was weird because I hadn't been playing that long, but I had been a musician for a long time.
Fast forward a little bit now. The Big Woo is, every time they play at the Grand Theater in Northfield, every fucking oldie would come down, and they'd have that place packed, 400 fucking people. And a couple times, my little, metal band, we would be hired to play before them. So you'd have 30-something male pattern baldness, hairline, mustache, dirtballs with Motley Crue shirts. It's going, fuck yeah! And then, and I would get off, and then fucking Big Woo would come in and just be like, every hot chick was there dancing. And I just remember thinking, whatever the fuck they're doing it fucking correctly. It hadn't been the wrong way done right quite yet.
Well, it's very interesting because, Andy, even though he wasn't in the Big Woo, I knew Andy very early on in Big Woo lore because he lived in Northfield. But I met Andy, he was delivering pizzas for Bill's. He delivered me many pizzas, and I remember thinking that he was a very interesting looking person. And I asked him, and one day I just said, look, dude, we've met 4 or 5 times, and, we just do this money thing, and it's just not real personable. I said, so what do you do? And he said, well, I play bass. And I thought, well, that's cool. I'm a drummer. So I said, we should jam sometime.
By 1995, I joined St. Olaf, and a lot of the members of the band had graduated by this time. The Flying Eklund brothers, Andy and his brother Nate, who were playing bass and keyboards, and it's just a college cover band. It's mostly Grateful Dead, Allman Brothers, and so they weren't that excited to drive down from the cities for a band practice. So Andy Eklund, he was like, that's cool, man. Have somebody else play. And I jumped on that motherfucker like it was, I jumped on it hard. Because I could just hear it in the sound of the band, the way that they played. It was natural, and the vocals weren't exactly as evolved, but they had the rudimentaries, of just singing some basic harmony.
For me being a young guitar player and trying to find my way in the world and figure out what I was going to do with this, this incredible new thing that I had found in my life, the Big Woo seemed like this really exciting, example of what you could do with it. And they were, and they are. And so the dream seemed way more possible than it had before, I guess. Without that example, where do you go from there? There's, it's kind of no real reference point, but those guys were, and they were right there.
After we graduated, or after I graduated in '93, we all moved to Minneapolis, and I moved in with Chris, and we started doing shows at this place called the Terminal Bar. I know Chris and Terry and I and some other people back in those days, we went out and saw the Grateful Dead in '95, or I think so, in Seattle. We all drove out there. And so we had a nice real bonding experience, and then we came back, and I think Jerry Garcia died, and that's when we started playing the Terminal on Tuesdays. And we played a lot of Grateful Dead music and Allman Brothers and stuff like that. And then we started writing our own, and that's kind of where it started.
He did a tribute to Jerry with a couple other bands, and all the Deadheads were there, and they liked us. I think that was pretty much the beginning of us playing at the Terminal Bar, and we were nice guys. I mean, we weren't too much of a mess, and Flem was the bar owner, and he thought we were good. He liked us. He didn't know anything about music, but as so many bar owners do, they like our crowd because they're not rowdy. For the people that like to partake in whatever, our crowd is the chill version of those people for the most part.
How did I meet the Woo? Well, it turns out that I met the Woo through the Grateful Dead. I fell in love with the familial crowd that surrounded the Grateful Dead. And so since there weren't that many Grateful Dead shows to go to, there was a local cover band, a Dead cover band called the Space Heaters. They used to play at the old Five Corners Saloon over in West Bank area by the U. And so that was kind of my deal. A couple of times, a couple of young musicians, it was Terry and Jason, came over and sat in with them, usually for a Scarlet Fire. And, they're from the Big Woo, and I kind of thought, okay, cool, And Terry said one time that I was taping the Space Heaters. I taped all of their shows. I got into taping shows for the Grateful Dead. I only got about 6 or 8 shows in until Jerry died, But anyway, so I was taping the Space Heaters and giving tapes to the band and anyone who cared. And Terry apparently, he said, well, Paul, we asked you once, would you like to come tape us? And I said, oh, my plate's already full. But a couple of friends who I believed said, you really got to check out the Big Woo. And that is when we were just starting at the Terminal Bar in Minneapolis, which is about the size of this golf cart. And anyway, so I went one night and I brought my taping stuff, and they were doing all Dead covers then, and Terry was the only one who sang. And so I liked what I heard, and was listening to this music, and there was sort of a Dead 72 ambience, but they didn't sound anything like the Dead. But they're the only band other than the Dead whose jams took me out into one of those spaces where I followed you every note of the way, but how in the hell do we get here, and don't ask me to find my way back. Anyway, that was one of those things, and I just thought there's something going on here.
The first time I ever saw the Big Woo was at the Terminal Bar. The buzz was going around there's this band that's really killing it. They're doing extended jams and they're playing really, really great. We went down a bunch of us to the Terminal Bar to see them, and I remember when they did In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, and they extended it out, and it was just like, it was great. It was like finally like there was cats that were like new and fresh, young. We were all about the same age, so it was like really cool that those cats were doing that stuff and extending the music the way that, you know, we wanted.
It was kind of cool because Padre, or Andy Miller, he was Andy back then. Andy, anyway, because I came down, I had my recording stuff set up, and then, you know, like he came back to the table at set break. He said, "What do you think? What do you think?" I said, "Sounds really good, although the keyboard player could be up in the mix a little bit more." To which Andy said, "Well, actually, we're looking for a new keyboard player, because this keyboard player, wonderful, wonderful person, but he's not a soloist. He's more of a Phil and Cordell kind of person. And also, he's a teacher. I mean, that was his path. He was not meant to be a career musician." Well, anyway, so that led to the whole story of where do you get a keyboard player? And there is one. I knew a guy named Al Oikari who was in a band called Hot Pork Sandwich with a guitarist named Jeff Cerniak. And I'd heard what he'd done or whatever, and then Hot Pork Sandwich kind of went south. And so there was about a 3-month period where it was like, "Hey, Al, there's this band." Al used to play in Cats Under the Stars. He knew Dead stuff, you know. And, you know, "Al, there's this band that's looking for a keyboard player, da-da-da-da-da." And then to the Woo, "Hey, guys, there's this awesome keyboard player that you should know, da-da-da-da-da-da." You know, and after about 3 months, finally, we got to the place where Al said, "Yeah, I'm going to bring my rig down, and I'll probably just play a couple songs. I really want to just sort of sit back and listen."
June 6th, 1996 at Terminal Bar.
June 4th.
June 4th. Don't believe him, he's old.
He doesn't remember.
And Al showed up with a broken leg or something, trying to carry his keyboards in on crutches. And he sat in for the night, and we never asked him to be in the band, and he hasn't really left.
I wonder if you thought, was he on crutches? Yeah. Sure. Should have known. That was our first clue.
Well, someone was helping him. I wasn't, but someone was helping. He was falling into the wall with his keyboard, and barely made it on stage, but he finally did. And then we played a show, and he's never left.
Unfortunately, I think I had just been in a softball accident, so I think I had never met the guys. I think Terry used to sit in on drums with the Space Heaters, and maybe he was on that gig too. I'm not sure. I may have met him before, but at any rate, I limped into the terminal. I had a crutch in one hand, and I think a keyboard in the other hand, and I gimped in, and the band looked at me. Geez, what did Paul dig up here? You know, and you know, this old guy is limping in, and they showed me a song list, and I didn't recognize many of the titles, and I just said, "Well, just tell me what key it's in, and I'll lay out if I don't know it or if I can't perform it." And they were going to have me play 3 or 4 songs that night, sit and listen for a while, and then come up during the second set. And I said, "Well, I got to work tomorrow morning. I'll try to. Maybe I should play at the beginning, and you know, I can get out of here early if I had to." And I ended up staying the whole night, and the chemistry was pretty good.
Of course, after that was an interesting adventure too, because so he started showing up at the shows, you know, and so on and so forth, and he became sort of a fixture there. But like to the guys, the other 4, it's like, well, is this something he wants to do? I mean, is he with us? Is this important to him? Are you on the bus or off the bus, Al, or whatever and stuff? And it was driving him nuts, because like, where does Al stand with respect to this stuff? And I talked to Al about that. I said, "Guys are wondering, you know, like, what's the deal?" He says, "I show up, don't I?" Which is a total Al, and so on. So I mean, he became a regular person. Obviously, he played the role of the outsider very well too. You know, the reluctant bride. You know, it was really fun. I mean, Al to me was the mortar that held all the other pieces together, and much more. But That's where the keyboard player came from.
Caboose, right in my shoes. Well, the railroad was singing, on the sea it's hard to tell who's you and who.
So anyway, we did about a year at the Terminal Bar, and then 1996 rolled along, and Linda Davis, who was the promoter at the Caboose bar, came and saw us, and we started. We had a big scene and for that little place, and so we went over to the Caboose. We started doing that for a couple years every Wednesday, which is a tradition on the West Bank. There's a lot of other bands that did the Wednesday night show, like Mango Jam or the Goonie Birds. I mean, those are all people who've done that too.
The residencies that we've taken at the Terminal Bar on Tuesday nights, that was from the first week of January in 1996 throughout August, and then we moved over to the Caboose that September. And this brought a great focus to the band, with the songwriting, with just always having to pick up new material. Not the stress, but you gotta bring in new stuff to the stage every week. You can't play the same show. So you're encouraged in every way possible to extend yourself, and once you're busy extending yourself, it's really your choice all the directions you want to go. What I'm getting to with this is we're part of like a heritage of bands playing Wednesday nights. We're not the first, we're not the last to do this, and I think what was most fun and exciting and important was really the creation of the Big Woo family.
My first memories of the band was maybe opening for them at the Caboose. What was that, a Tuesday night? Do you remember that? It was before you were born, probably. It was a Wednesday night. Stand corrected. But there was many bands that went in and opened for the Big Woo on the Wednesday night at the Caboose. And I was one of them, and I was one of the many who were psyched because it was a huge crowd, the regular Wednesday night crowd, and they were always so laid back. And this was right around the time when the internet started to blossom, and there was discussion groups. And I want to say that my mom and Jason were little computer buddies talking to each other on the internets, on the discussion groups and things like that. They've always been super positive, and it's always been like focusing on the positive, and the people in front have always been really into it and really loving, and their fans have always been super welcoming to guests. there's a couple bands out there that have fans that don't like opening band. Big Woo is definitely not one of those bands.
The first time I met the Big Woo was when String Cheese Incident first came to Minnesota, and we played the Caboose, and the Big Woo had us all over to one of the band members' homes for dinner. It was great because at the time we were just trying to get a foothold, and we were traveling all across the country, playing a lot of small clubs, trying to get the crowds to come out and see us, and it's a real battle at that point. And to have a band reach out and really make you feel welcome in the town that you're going through and playing in, it was really great, and it was a special thing.
A huge part of the residency and the success of it at the Caboose happened with Paul Hagen. Paul was taping the band, and then Paul lovingly kind of grew into our manager as time went on. But Paul is not only enthusiastic, he's very creative. So what he would do is he would tape the show, and if you wanted a copy of that week's show, you just had to go up to the merch booth and you just fucking write your name on the fucking slip, and you give us $3 an hour or $3 later. The $3 was the exact cost for 2 Maxell tapes.
See, one of the things I loved about the Grateful Dead was the incredible tape trading network going on. I mean, I'll send you blanks, you send me music, vice versa, etc. No money involved. It was about sharing stuff you love. But another thing that helped spread the Woo around the country is that back then, tape trading was a big deal. People were taping Widespread and Fish and stuff. Oh, but wait, I have another 20 minutes of blank tape here. I'll fill it up with something. They'd put Big Woo on it. And then they'd hear back, from people, wow, who are they and where can I get more? And so it was a real, sort of an analog version of viral marketing. What was amazing was like the last year of their 3-year run or so at the Caboose, the last year, the crowds were like about 400 people on a Wednesday. The last 6 months or so, 40 sets of tapes every single night, every single week. I'd collect the money and I'd round it up to the next number, and we sold out 40 sets of the show every week, week in and week out for the last 6 months of their run there. I mean, people wanted to keep that music with them.
Doubleheader on a Saturday, Shriners veterans don't have to pay. The game is tied, but the young man's feeling, and he's rolling like that Texas fireball, rolling like go down before the bar. Jack and Jill went up that hill and on, and rolling like that Texas fireball. Graduated with a 3.8, new librarians working out great. The Dewey Decimal System gets to be a fun. Likes dancing with a boy that agrees. Charleston, Lindy, whatever you please. You take your troubles and you leave them out on the floor. And he's rolling like that Texas fireball, rolling like go down before the bar. Jack, you're doing up that hill and on, and rolling like that Texas fireball.
As far as the writing process of this band goes, all bands do it their own way. But it was kind of, our standard operating procedure was kind of set by Chris, who really, he wrote all the songs in the beginning. Terry did too. Terry, he started coming in. But Chris was really prolific and productive. He had this era where it was just bum, 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 bum. Every fucking week at Band Brax, there'd be another one. And his process is very big whoosh. He would bring in just the basic song itself, not overly done. And he's just showing you the chords. Maybe if he has like one thing, like say an SOS, ba 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 ba, he just needs that one fucking thing done like that to kick off the jam. And so it's a very organic process where people start adding in and people start finding figures or chord inversions that they like, and you start adding in some harmonies, and the song itself will begin to take form. But Chris kind of inadvertently wrote the rules that you can just bring in something. It doesn't have to be done. You know, the icing doesn't have to be perfectly done on the cake with all the rose things and the sparkly silver balls that you're not supposed to eat or else you die. Or, you know, instead it's just kind of like, here's cake and here's some bed, and let's put it together. Let's assemble this thing.
I remember writing songs that had a certain part of them that was just like a song we were playing. I was thinking of the song Puerto Rico, which is one of the early ones that we did, has this like turnaround that's the same as a Grateful Dead song, It Must Have Been the Roses. And I guess there was a point where I realized that was okay to do that. You can use these you know, time-tested chord progressions and feels to songs that have worked for, you know, for so long. That's just kind of the way it works, you know. You have to be kind of respectful of it, and you have to kind of steal those things, you know, discreetly and without anyone really knowing it right away. You know, if you're obviously taking something from a song, you're gonna get in trouble for that, but other than that, it seemed to serve me really well.
Chris would come in week after week after week, and it would be like, yeah, I just wrote this song, you know, I don't know, Bloodhound. I don't know if anybody liked it. I just wrote the song Softly Turn Over. You know, I just wrote the song called Shantytown. I don't know if anybody's gonna like it. I just wrote the song. I only spent 10 minutes on it. It's pretty dumb. It's called Kangaroo. Nobody's gonna like it, but let's try it out. Yeah, and you fucking do this week after week. I mean, the whole catalog, everything that Big Woo fans think, you know, like, yeah, that golden era is hard. It's like Castino was pumping that out. It seemed like every week, just bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom.
And I think a lot of the stuff that came early were parts of songs and ways that we were jamming that I really liked. So like Kangaroo was just, I mean, lyrically it was just like something I wrote in about 2 minutes, but it was based on a 2-guitar thing. And that was what we were doing these cool, Jason and I were doing these cool dual leads and stuff. And it was just kind of an up-tempo thing. It was a combination of kind of that Allman Brothers and that kind of, you know, that dance kind of upside that people were really liking. Because definitely there were a lot of people that would just, and still do, love to dance to our music.
Well, I know, you know, back when we were starting off, you know, it was a lot to do with Castino and Terry, and both of them writing some really quality happening tunes that were catchy, and I think their songwriting really had a lot to do with it.
I guess I just write lyrics a lot for Terry. Well, I just really like to write also, and then so I just write a bunch of crap down, and then I give it to Terry, and then he makes songs out of it. I just love to do that. And then he's like, I need some words, Beth. Give me some words so I can write some music. And then so it's fun. I'm always so surprised of what comes out of what I write, because it's not usually what I had in mind at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably most of my tunes, even ones that aren't on the album, are penned by her. I've written a few lyrics for my own song, but most of them are hers. I mean, we had a routine where I would go on tour and work on ideas. You usually bring a guitar along or a tape recorder and come up with melodic ideas or whatever, and then I'd come back to her, and she would be, you know, we'd be away for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time. She'd come back and say, well, this is what I've been working on, and then I would put those two together. And then the next time we go out on the road, hopefully, the idea was the next time we go out and we do some pre-tour rehearsals, I could bring new songs to those rehearsals. I could say, well, this is what I've been working on.
I think the way that Terry and Andy play together with that rhythm section, they're so intuitive, so it makes the rest of us who have to play over that, it makes our job so much easier. So you know, we're really lucky to have a rhythm section that has that many years of experience.
The band to me has always been a great blend of American music, from R&B to rock and roll to country and bluegrass and many other, genres as well. And they, the Big Woo has always had a real brilliant way of spinning all of those genres together, in my opinion, which is something that really excited me as a young musician. And I heard those sounds coming from other groups of the time, like String Cheese Incident and Fish and all these other kind of progressive, jam acts, trying to do something that hadn't been done before. And it was fun. It was fun to hear that. It was inspiring.
What I can do is I have a mind for arrangements, so I can arrange the songs, I think, in a way, and suggest things that maybe they didn't think about. More of like an overview of it. For me, it's like, sure, the drum parts, but I'm kind of in the clouds up here, sort of looking at all these parts together, where I think if you're the songwriter, sometimes you get caught in the middle of it, and you want all this layering and stuff around, but you're not quite even sure if it's what you want to hear. And so I can kind of mingle around on the top and just, because you play a beat, it's kind of a rote memory, and I can just think about what I'm hearing and maybe suggest, like, this is a little too long or this is a little too short.
The other important thing was Chris's lyrics. Chris has he's both a sense, for the generality of something too. He can really paint you in with a few words, non-specific words, but he's got an incredible eye for detail, and the one or two words that he selects completely and intricately will fill in that general color. And he's done this time and time and time and time again.
In my writing, like I say, it had a lot to do with how much I appreciated Robert Hunter's lyrics, and I still do. They're just so whimsical and smart and American and literate and poetic and beautiful. I mean, they're so deep that I thought if I could just be a third of that, I think that I could connect with people lyrically. I definitely consider his influence as not a member of the Grateful Dead, but as that songwriter, as that lyricist, to have a big influence on me. I really liked how his lyrics were just out there floating around. The meanings were just out there floating around. And I thought that was really cool, that you could carefully throw things together and then have people attach their own meanings to them, and not specific songs about me or a person or an event. And those songs work too. I like those too. People are really good at that. But I think at that point I didn't have enough experience in life to really connect with people. I just wanted to write songs that were, that allowed people to take their experiences to them and not try to bring my experiences, which were, not much at the time,
Walked in the door. We've all seen your face before. It's time you settled up the score. Just promises you swore. You just walked in the door. Colorado from the whole damn world would follow. Cause your troubles were the only thing you did. The suitcase full of lonely, longing for the good old times you lived. Now you're back again. It looks like found a friend. My pocketbook is a W-2. Oh, if you just walked in the door, you've all seen your face before.
Well, there wasn't really a prep. I mean, I can't really remember how it happened. I think the first thing we did was we had a party at Latch Lake where they were recording. Okay, so Latch Lake was this warehouse that Jeff Roberts owned.
It's owned by this guy, Jeff Roberts. He produced our first 2 albums, recorded and produced the first 2 albums. And he would have these huge, outrageous parties out there. And what I wanted was we were recording folk tales, and the last song is called Shantytown. And I remember I came up with this idea that I wanted the music to fade out, but I wanted a huge crowd of people all singing the chorus. And as the music fades out, you just hear this crowd of people. Let's go down to the Shantytown, you know, so on and so forth. So we needed a bunch of people. Now, we thought about doing the Caboose, but you're not going to get all the drunk people to fucking participate the right way. Jeff said, hey, let's do it here. Beth Vanderwalker came up with the actual name Family Reunion, because we want something, you know, other than Big Woo Fest.
But there weren't a lot of music festivals at that time. There were hardly any, actually. And we thought, well, being me, thought, let's have a music festival. Let's do that. We can do that here. Let's do that.
The first real one was '98 at Harmony Park. And Beth Vanderwalker, bless her heart, she was like the key organizer of it. I mean, she really ran that show, and she got the volunteers together and got the various people responsible for different areas. I mean, she's a master organizer of this thing. But when we got together to talk about this first thing, and, you know, well, we had to, you know, it was our idea to do it on a Memorial Day weekend. That had not been done. There were not Memorial Day weekend festivals at that time. Well, everyone goes away. Well, maybe they'll come here, you know, and so Harmony Park was the venue, and then we just thought, okay, well, this is ours. We could do it any way we want. Okay, let's start with what predictably sucks about festivals. 2 things, in my opinion, and we were all of like mind here. 1, the bands don't get to play long enough. You know, so many bands, they got a 45-minute set. 45 minutes, they're just finding their groove, and the audience is just starting to figure out whether they care or not, and then it's over. So we thought every band's going to get 2 hours. Main stage and side stage, and the stages will not step on each other. No, you can hear every note that is played at this deal. And so every main stage act got a straight 2 hours, and then the side stage acts got 3 40-minute sets, so they got their 2 hours. All right, and then what also predictably sucks about festivals? Filthy porta potties with no paper. And this was something we had control over.
Hey, come on in. Do you mind if we ask you some questions?
Man. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Both might be used in a movie, is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sweet. Okay.
We're all about that.
How was your experience in there?
It was pretty good. Felt good.
Okay. I think by the brevity of your stay, it was just a stand-up flyby. It wasn't.
Yeah, real quick.
Okay. Have you played a deuce since you've got here? If you know what I mean.
Oh no, actually I haven't. Usually last year I've always headed out to the parking lot because the bathrooms are a lot cleaner out there, man.
Okay.
These ones get all messed up through the night, but if you head her out to the parking lot, nice and clean.
How was the snow? You know,
clean because
middle of the afternoon.
Right.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Wait till about 11, 12 at night, then they start getting bad.
Okay. Compared to other festivals, would you consider the Big Woo Family Reunion Hoppers cleaner, average, or worse than other festivals?
They clean them every morning. That's pretty nice. You know, you hear them out there cleaning them pretty early in the morning.
You get up at the right time, you go in there, and you're like,
wow, yeah, brand spanking new.
I think it's important that we get a lady in here.
Lady.
Because the ladies are, of course, forced to engage in a more intimate manner with the facilities.
Definitely.
How would you rank the Big Woo Family Reunion Porta Johns?
Well, up until
better than average or
better
worse
than
other
average
festivals?
for sure, but only until like 11 or midnight. Then it's kind of make sure you bring your flashlight and you kind of.
Have you ever found any, say, intentional markings? Say a 3 a.m. display of poop art.
Can't say I've ever seen any poop art anywhere, but I've seen quite a bit of shit everywhere. Pardon my language, but.
And have you you were just in there for a short time, so you were standing up and flying by, as you'd say.
Yeah.
Have you sat down and played a deuce yet?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine.
I usually do a wipe down beforehand.
Okay.
But it's fine. Never had any problems with that.
Okay.
You got to wonder though when it's above the rim, who's the last person who does that?
Al Oikari is the answer. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right, no problem.
And I think it was the ethic that we had taken, because we had already traveled a shitload. We had played festivals all around the States, and we traveled and on Tuesday night you're lucky to make 125 fucking bucks. So we just knew how tough it was to be a nobody, just blindly going out in the world, saying, hey, here we are.
And so we wanted to do a festival where the bands really felt like they were the star, and the fans were not secondary, but it was just like, we're coming at it from like a back of the house perspective instead of like the front of the house perspective. But Paul actually had he had it like set up where bands just agreed to get out paid the same amount every band. Like the shittiest band would get paid, like you'd get a bump up, but then like the really good band would kind of get a bump down, but they would be fine because it was a family reunion.
Our fans, our crowd of supporters like to party, but they also like to clean up, They get that part of it. And that's the sustainability of it.
We had no idea what we were doing. My friend Diane Freed, who lived at the Pillsbury house with Chris and like 10 other people, helped do ticketing, and we just made it up. We copied Fish, I think, totally you have to send this envelope in with your name. It has to be this size. We're like, okay, let's do that. So we, sent that out and had people send in money, and they sent in money, and they bought tickets, and then we got a stage, and we tried to do it really well, and we just wanted to be really comfortable and creative and have cool art and just really on the up and up, and it was so fun.
But it led to the, what happened the next few years with Black River Falls, and I really feel like I was thinking when I threw this one on, this was kind of the peak at Black River Falls when it was, you'd look out at that crowd in front of the stage and it was huge. And I was so happy for me, even in 2002 after when I wasn't working anymore, I was still just loving it and seeing it.
I think we first ran into the Big Woo in around 98, 99, probably at Harmony Park. Most likely, it gets a little blurry back there. I don't know why. The Big Woo family reunions certainly have taken their toll on some of my memory banks. That was good debauchery. Really good debauchery. Especially at Black River. Man, that place got out of hand, man. I saw some wild things going on in those woods. It's a good family that has their reunion in the woods. That's what I always say.
But I remember when we got asked to play their family reunion, that experience with that music festival, they basically took us, who we hadn't played in the Midwest. We had a very small audience at home, and we had toured, a lot, but we were trying to build crowds and stuff. We had 100 people in a crowd. We were amazed. We were like, this is an amazing night, And what they did is they took us and they plopped us in front of a few thousand people. They're like, go, get it. And the crowd dug what we did. And it was the encouragement of the word that they spread on our behalf. To we showed up and fans were like, we're so excited for your set. And we're going, how the hell do you have any idea of who we even are?
To me, it's the quintessential festival. It's how festivals should be thrown. It's what a festival's all about. And it's not about the individual as much as it is the community. And it's about each other. It's about your friends. It's about your family. That's why they call it the family reunion, because that's really where it's at.
For me, it was a lot of, we did these Big Blue family reunions, and a lot of these bands like Humphreys McGee and Yonder Mountain String Band and The Recipe and all these, there was some really good bands that we sort of brought into this area, this region of the country. who are now, really successful, and that makes me feel good.
This festival was really cool because I got to see a lot of people that I haven't seen that I probably only see at the Big Woo family reunion, like a lot of old school friends. Some of those friends that were there with us at the terminal, like freaking 20 years ago, like going, wow, this is fun. And now we're all kind of grown up. Some of us have kids, some of us are doing this, some of us are doing that, but it's still good to see those friends and just reconnect, say hi, and then everybody goes on about their lives, and maybe we'll see you again next year. So, thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Later, Big Woo.
All right, here's the phone. A woo's not something that you do, it's who you are now, you know that's true. And if you're big and you're going woo, it's a big woo. And that's you. There you are at the festival, hanging out. Big woo, showing down, freaking out. Real big woo.
I'm Jack Lawrence. I actually was going to Harmony Park with some friends. We were going to go see Merle Saunders. We were kind of excited. It was something different. We knew there was music 2 nights, and I'd never really heard of the Big Woo. And we got there, and they started playing, and I really liked what I was hearing. And then one of the songs I recognized, a friend of mine had been to see Horde in Somerset, I think. And one of the songs was on their little sample CD. And, we hung out and then saw Merle and actually preferred the set before with the Big Woo, and then I just started going to see him.
1997, we were playing at First Avenue for the Cool Cigarettes-sponsored Horde Tour Battle of the Bands. And I wanted this fucking Horde Tour bad. I never wanted anything so fucking bad in my life. And I just remember thinking that, like, yeah, people will probably vote or whatever after the show, and so what's the last band that played is probably be the freshest in their mind, and so on and so forth. So we played the Battle of the Bands, and then right afterwards, I guess they had been counting scratch-offs. You scratched off, whatever band you want. So they'd already been, and who knows, maybe they did some funny business and somebody rigged something. I don't fucking know.
I remember there was a couple of these old hippies that stuffed the ballot box because they were like, fuck these other bands. This is the real band. Because they were, because that was what they believed in. And we represented what they believed in. Which, I don't know if we did or not, but that's what they thought. And so they kind of like militantly took over that show and won us that battle, made us win.
I remember announcing that we won the Battle of the Bands, and I had this fucking belly laugh that started from down here. It was just, wow. I was so overjoyed, just laughing so hard, because it was just such a fucking great moment. It's like, you're going on Horde Tour, with fucking Primus and Beck and Neil Young, right? You're gonna be eating Alfredo backstage with Beck, which actually kind of happened.
And Syracuse was fun. I was sitting in the lunch line, because they had a buffet for all the, and Beck came in, and 2 of us were like the buffet line. He's right here, getting mostly potato salad for some reason. He had like a big mound of potato salad, and he has sunglasses on, like he just got up or something. It's just like, yay, what's up? But he didn't say much after that.
I think that just showed them how a real band could go on tour, because it was like a real deal. And even though they were just like the people that won battle of the bands in the town and got all stuck on the side stage or whatever. I mean, they saw like all the real production and, the real timing and a real stage and a real PA. And so that was pretty fun.
I showed up about the Caboose, and we'd go and do shows in Northfield, the Grand, and they did a couple without Al as the George Costanza's Furious Four. And that was another thing that the record label didn't care for. But when they started hitting the road, it was kind of like, okay, we have big shows when we come home, so we can't really do that weekly thing anymore. Even when they came home, we did it for a while, but it just wouldn't work. And it worked out to their advantage for bigger venues and bigger shows.
My name is Wilson Simon, Will Simon. My job right now is lighting production, stage managing. I have a business rehearsal space that different bands, the Big Woo, come and rehearse at. I was school teacher in California, and they were doing this Snapple tour. And they would play at a university during the day and then play a venue at night. And they'd go up and down the coast, and it was sponsored by Snapple. But anyway, we did about 35 shows up and down the coast. And at the end of the tour, everybody was going to fly home. And Terry and Jack were going to drive the one van home, and I was asked if I would help drive the other van home with Chris. And then, slowly things started to happen. Chris got on the highway and went the wrong way for about 45 minutes, and he was like, "Is there a different Los Angeles?" And I'm like, "No." I was in the backseat kind of sleeping. We're in the desert. And at another point, real late, he got stopped to get gas, and I got out to go to the bathroom, and he still thought I was in the back and left for about an hour, and I didn't have anything. I was in shorts and a t-shirt and no phone, and he came back, and we stopped in Colorado at these vapor caves and went in saunas and had massages and ate barbecue, and the whole time it was great. It was great. And so we finally get into Minnesota. It's the day of the Fit show, the Fit show that they're recording. We got there 10 hours after Jack and Terry did. So I slept a little while, got up, and I was with my friend James Tanner. We took some mushrooms, we took a roll on the way there, and they're come to the back door. So I came to the back door, and I walked, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to introduce us." And I was like, ugh, kind of like I am now. And I went out on stage, and I introduced them, and I rambled like I do now, and that was recorded. And so for a long time, people were like, "Oh, you're that guy on CD."
And I want to introduce Will Simon to everybody, so come on up.
Will Simon. I want to tell you all that I've had the incredible pleasure of spending a lot of the last 6 weeks with these guys on the road. And it was incredible, to say the least. And with all the familiar faces and family and friends that were there, and all the new ones that were there, that they're here and are going to be at the reunion. Yeah. All that energy came home with these guys, and as excited as you are, these guys are a lot more excited, so get ready. Yeah. The Big Woo!
We were bolting back from San Diego, trying to get to the Fitzgerald Theater to do the show because we were taping live, and it was part of our label at the time, Phoenix Records. We wanted to put out a live album too, so that's what we were racing back to St. Paul from San Diego. We all got in time and finally set up and played this show, and it was really a special show, just because we had been gone for so long. And to be back home with our families and our friends and in one big atmosphere was really cool.
That was one of the first times that we went from playing a club, doing all right at a club, to going to a place where people have to buy a ticket. The ticket has a seat number. They go sit in their seats. It was just taking everything up. And as enthusiastic as I was, the greatest part is that the fans were 10 10 times more enthusiastic about it.
It just was really big for them to get to go and play a venue like that. And they know the history of some of these places, and it meant a lot to them. And then, that was one of the benefits of the record company, was having the opportunity to make a live CD and get it out there.
Also, Roy Wilkins, 2001, we raised like more than 10 tons of food for Second Harvest, and we put on a couple of great shows with Little Feat and Almighty Senators, and Derek Trucks was there too, and so we had Derek Trucks sitting with the Big Woo, and these guys from Little Feat, so it was like, who the hell are we?
The idea was, we want to do something really, really big, and 2001 was the Woo's biggest year. That was the year that we sold out the 4,000 tickets a week in advance of the family reunion. That was the year that they did a Friday-Saturday doubleheader at the zoo. The first night was a sellout by Woo standards. The second night was an all-time record for number of tickets sold for a show. They shattered the record set by a band called the Big Woo the year before, who in 2000, who set a record for number of tickets sold. And I can't remember who had the idea of, well, let's do a 2-night stand, Woo Year's Eves, and so forth. And we're looking for a venue. Roy Wilkins. So, well, how do you pull off something like that? Well, you need a pro. I approached Sue McLean. She was a very honest person, a good business person too.
Well, it was a thrill for me to have that lineup. Well, I had a chance to play with Little Feat, and they were heroes of mine. Growing up, it's music that really influenced me probably the most. And Paul Barrere, the guitar player from Little Feat, came in and sat in with us. Sam Bush played a couple of times with us. Derek Trucks played with us. So sharing the stage with these monster musicians, playing out of that system, and having such a responsive crowd, a big crowd, that was fun.
One thing about the Roy Wilkins shows, actually when I look over my life and things I'm most proud of, is our crowd, the Woo's crowd, is a bunch of folks who are looking for a better way, want to make a difference, and like a lot of people are kind of stymied, is like, well, anything I could do is too small to matter, so what's the point, and well, food drive. We paired up with, Sue McLean and I met with Second Harvest Heartland and stuff, and long and the short of it is, on those 2 nights, the Big Woo family raised 11 tons of actual food shelf contributions, that and in cash, which in the thank you letter afterwards was like over 32,000 meals that would not have been there if it weren't for the Big Woo family. And I guess if there's, that's my real short list of things I'm most proud of in my whole life.
Getting us on Bonnaroo, the very first band at Bonnaroo, the very first Bonnaroo is probably, a bit of band manager magic and industry magic. So he told me, he said, yeah, Terry, I had him fax me the lineup, like the stage setting. They faxed it to him. And he said, I found a little slot that they were setting up the PA the night before, and I said, well, why can't you just have a band there? The stagehands are going to be there at 9 a.m. Why can't you put a band on it like at noon? And they agreed. They said, sure, let's put a band on at noon. You want to put your band on at noon? That's fine.
Let me tell you something about Bonnaroo. We drove all night from a gig in northern Wisconsin, get down to Tennessee, and we slept in the hotel close in Tennessee. And the next morning, we had a special artist entrance where the sheriff would take you back and get you in like right away, because there's a 24-hour waiting line just to drive into this thing.
And I remember my brother and I drove the cargo van down with all the gear, and we got stuck in this like 10-hour traffic jam. We didn't know what it was, so they came and got us in a golf cart. Anyway.
But what I remember the most, I was talking to the road manager or the stage manager of the stage we were to set on and play, and no sign of the band or the equipment. And we're communicating with them, and they were lost on some sort of secret detour that the bands were supposed to take to be able to bypass all of the freeway traffic. And we weren't sure if they were going to make it in time. And stage manager and I ended up getting the stage laid out and wires so that when the van arrived, you could just pop it up, plug and play.
So we're going through the entire festival, 80,000 people, and there's no straight road, so everybody's just walking in front. Andy Fry, our sound guy at the time, is losing his mind driving, and he's angry, Fry. But our manager had told us that our stage was small, and he was kind of apologetic about it. But when we got there, the equipment was all set up. We were kind of showed up at the last second. And I went and walked up on stage. It's like, boom, there's 9,000 people. It's this huge-ass fucking tent, because we're the only band playing. We're the first band, so we're the only show in town. And people went back, it's like as far as the eye could see is what it felt like.
How about we introduce someone else? That's Dave.
Hi, I'm
and he
Dave.
plays trumpet.
I play trumpet. That's Landis. He plays drums and sings.
That's Craig Sugarham Considine. He plays the trombone and the cowbell.
And he's an amazing bluegrass trombone player.
I am. That's Warren Bowes. He plays the guitar and sings. And that's Jack Denning. He plays the bass and sings.
We should have done the last one in unison. And that's Jack Denning.
No, and we're
Almighty Senators. Played a gig with them in Annapolis, Maryland, that was arranged by a record label we were on called Phoenix.
And the Woo was on it as well.
Wow. See, I had forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. That's.
I had forgotten we're ever on a label.
Anyhow, after that, we did a gig with them up at the Cedar Cultural Center in Annapolis. I mean, in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
Minneapolis.
There's full-size Annapolis and Minneapolis.
And that was
there's
like,
Newapolis.
Yeah, that was fun, and they were playing like 3 sets that night, and we went on before any of those sets. It was pretty early, so but that's the night that I realized, like, wow, these guys can really play, because after we got finished playing, Dave and I.
Well, after Kangaroo,
we went to this. We found this really cool bar down the street, and then we came back and we're like, oh wow, these guys can really play. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And then we started
hanging.
When Phoenix Rising Records approached us, we were all very excited because it was the next step. We needed a record label. We needed, it's the next step. We wanted to go somewhere. It was time, and we needed help. And Phoenix had just started. Phoenix had a wealthy owner who was Harvard-educated economist with a lot of fucking money, and he didn't really know shit about the music business. So he hired a cat named Larry Braverman to kind of really be the brains behind this. And Larry has had decades of industry experience, being A&R guys. Worked for every label.
I was approached by them, and I don't know quite why, but I mean, they saw us as an up-and-coming something or other. Anyway, they came out and pitched us and blew a lot of sunshine up our butts.
And it was kind of sad to know that we were the best band. That was kind of the sucky part. It was like, oh, cool, there's like 7 other bands. And then like a year later, most of them were gone.
The Big Woo ended up being one of the only acts that made them any money. Kangaroo was a legitimate radio hit for them, and that was what kept them afloat. So if we were the only band, or maybe 1 or 2 bands that Phoenix Rising had signed, that would have worked. That the relationship would have worked out.
Things are going, it's going all right. Phoenix is doing what they do, and they started really spreading themselves thin. And then right about when it's time to hand in folk tales, all of a sudden, start hearing most of the staff has been cut. Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. But we're leaving our Manhattan offices. We're going to refocus basically, the label's fucking falling apart. The guys decided he's not putting any more money in this fucking label that he started.
Now, the thing is, they had started Folktales like a couple years earlier, but then the label thing came along or whatever. Well, the label was too cheap at that point to want to go back and, start from scratch. So Folktales is basically cobbled together from some rhythm tracks and stuff that were 3 years old, or 2 or something like that, and they did new stuff, and so it was a challenge for the guys because they had grown, and suddenly they're going back to some other stuff.
We had a 6-album contract, and before album 2 was even released, they went into bankruptcy. Our contract was technically one of the many assets that were tied up in bankruptcy court. We tried to purchase our contract back from them so that we, with that contract in limbo, we weren't free and clear to be able to make any more recordings.
That just kind of was eye-opening. I say, okay, that's what music, that's how music business can fuck with things, and how it's kind of a drag that it has to even exist.
We had to have a lawyer on retainer in New York for 2 years, and then one day our number came up, and the judge was like, well, Big Woo can buy back their stuff for, X amount of dollars. But yeah, about somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 that we had to come up with, pay for our own material to be returned to us in its original form.
By the time Jason resigned from the band in 2002, he had been, his life was in shambles. He was not a happy person. He was not a happy person within inside of his head. I don't think that the way he was, or the person that he was, it wasn't who he wanted to be. Whether or not he's fully in control of all of those choices, it had led him down, he was losing his wife, his house, and he was becoming harder to deal with within the band.
And I think that he maybe had more invested into it than in some ways. Maybe he was right to think it too, but just like, this is the opportunity. This is it. There's not going to be another one, and you guys are fucking it up, or whoever's fucking it up. Who knows? There's so many elements. There's so many things, different moving parts.
In the rock business, divorces happen. Kids are left without parents. It's not a good thing. There's certain aspects of it that are real and need to be dealt with in a real fashion, and that's always really difficult for bands. No matter, I don't care who you are, I don't care what band you're in, but as soon as people start having babies, it's difficult to maintain that rhythm.
If you're thinking that consistency is an issue, say musically within the band, also being consistent about how you approach, talk, treat other people is behind stage is just or more important.
Just the road, the road kind of takes its toll too, and there were just a number of things. Some of the performances were really hurting, and I don't know if it was the stress of that or what contributed to that, but the playing started getting really inconsistent, and I think Jason just blew a gasket, just would get frustrated. He thought that the band wasn't noticing that our performances were subpar, and he was striving, he was perfectionist. He almost got a little obsessed with interacting with fans, but he cared about the fans. He thought the fans are first, and it kind of boiled over, and he was frustrated.
The thing with Jason is you can have a serious relationship with Jason online, and then it's hard for him in person. And I think that came out on the road, and the stress of living on the road and having a family at home. And I think, when he got to the point where he was done, it was probably for the best. Just like with me, I think when I was done working, I think it was for the best. At that point, I may have actually been bringing them down more than helped build them up. And that, I don't know if that's true with Jason. I think he was an awesome part of the band, and I don't think I could ever say he'd be bringing them down, but he was bringing himself down.
There's no way you can pinpoint why things are working or why they're not working. It's just this organic thing that goes. But I do feel like that was his one chance to have what he wanted, and I think that he wanted it to be big.
I really cared about it so much. It was like my baby, I feel like the Big Woo, I like the mommy of the Big Woo, kind of. Not in so much that I wrote all these songs for it, because Chris and Terry wrote the majority of the songs, and but I just felt like it was kind of, gave birth to it, and I wanted to see it grow up and be a big boy, I just was my time to go.
Yeah, it was a very difficult decision. It's really not one that anybody ever wants to make. To have to remove a friend from a business that you're in, that you started something with. It's not something you take very lightly.
When he left, I almost left too. He and I talked about the spinoff that ended up becoming God Johnson. I'm glad I didn't to be involved with something and not see it to the finish. And but I've always felt real comfortable with Jason, and the thought of continuing to make music with him intrigued me. But and I kind of knew some of the stuff he was going through that, you know, kind of caused him to leave in the first place.
You know, it was a combination of a lot of things, really, but more than anything, it was how I was looking at my life, and if I wanted to commit the amount of time and energy it took to be in the Big Woo, and seeing what that was doing to my family as well. You know, I was not home a lot, and I was not behaving quite properly on the road. I'll admit that. You know, it's easy to say no, and but once you get out there, it's a whole other story. I was using a lot too, so that wasn't good, and you know, I was just feeling like the band was struggling, and it wasn't really, you know, and it's hard to say because we all started off as really good friends at St. Olaf. And just to see what that happens after you spend so much time with the same people and the same personalities day after day, and you smell them and you know what they smell like, and it's like, you know, that does something to you. I mean, it changes you over time, and it changes your relationship with people who maybe you were once close with. That I wrestled with a lot. I mean, I really felt like those relationships sort of weren't there anymore. Yeah, so that was a big reason. My own behaviors, my life at home was falling apart. I wondered if it was all worth it, and I pretty much said, no, it's not. And I went back home and started cooking pizza, and I worked at the gym, and I was like, you know, rebuilding.
I've never been attuned to the politics of that band. They've just treated me like a brother, and I don't know that much about what's going on. And I would like to say that I think Jason is a great human being and a great musician, and I learned a lot standing next to him and playing with him. And I even got a couple of chances to sit with just him, just us playing and talking about music, and I learned a lot from that. I think he's a beautiful musician. And when I first heard that he left the band, I was worried or bummed out or concerned that there might be some other schisms or what's the reason. You know, these things don't last forever. People got to do what they got to do. People go in different directions, so you got to let them. That's what I think. And so I watched to see what happened, and the Big Woo continued without him. But then they had him as a guest a lot too. You know, he seemed his personality and his musical self seemed to be strong in the band even after he left the band or they broke up with him.
But I do enjoy getting Jason on stage and seeing if there's still any kind of chemistry going on between him and some of the other band members. It definitely is with me. I think his playing is great, and it's just another voice. It's another style that kind of brings me back to the old days. It's a happy time for me.
I look back now and it's like, you know, as much as you think you're in charge of your life and making all these special choices, and then you look back on your life and it's like, man, I don't know if I was really in charge of all those choices or not. Because my daughters are here, and my daughters are here because of it, and you know, all these all these people who came together and got married and now have kids, and because of it, because they met at a reunion or something. When I think about those things, that's when I start feeling good, and like something that we did mattered and made a difference. And I think, overall, that's the whole reason why we're here.
It was weird, but we've had members come and go from our group too. So I know Alan, sometimes
many saxophone players,
too many to name. It's these things happen, So like we try not to.
Guys got to do what he's got to do,
Yeah.
Life goes on.
And we still are buddies with him, even just hanging out with him a few minutes ago, as a matter of fact.
He was rocking. Actually, didn't you play in Baltimore? You were like, you play with them?
Sure. I mean, when they come through town, but I wasn't like
he wasn't in the band. He didn't join the band.
No, he really didn't.
Warren's never been in the Big Woo.
My favorite band, I imagine they're yours as well. Put your hands together for the Big Woo!
So here we are again. We meet again, people. So you know what we're up to. So here comes. One child has been born, an adventurer.
Piece it's interesting. There's an analogy that the Grateful Dead used to use about having two drummers versus one drummer when Mickey Hart was out of the band. And, when you got the full ensemble going, it's the rolling thunder, it's the convoy of semis going down the highway, unstoppable, straight and true, and check out the bucket. And then they said, when Mickey's out of the band, they're just down to Kreutzmann. They kind of described it like, now it's more like a sports car. Kind of turn on its wheels,
It was like a slow motion kind of like derailment that nobody really got hurt in, but all of a sudden, after a while, you realize it's just kind of, you weren't going anymore. But for me, it was, I look back at that, I thought there was a lot of really cool things and a lot of development as a person and a musician for me. taking on more musical responsibility and being one out of 4 people. It was just a lot more, and I really cherished it. I thought I was the best guitar player I had ever been during those years, you know.
I thought the 4-piece was more powerful in a way, but it also lacked kind of depth. You know, it was like a left cross, you know, as opposed to like a combination or something, you know, in boxing terms.
But Jason was also a harmony singer. He's also a harmony guitar player. You know, and so there's something missing.
I think that maybe as a band that was kind of built to be as a 5-piece, removing that 1 piece, yeah, it just puts a little bit more weight on everybody's shoulders. And I think it was, after a while, it was like, okay, it's probably too much weight. We probably needed another person to kind of help.
The sound has shrunk down considerably. And was, you know, in a good way. I mean, it became more focused, sound, but it didn't have like a range that I guess you need. But I was ambivalent and sort of just, I wanted to make it work because we had something that we needed to, you know, we had a product that we had to promote. So we just went after it, and we toured very hard, probably harder than we toured when it was a 5-piece.
4-piece, now, a lot of fans really fucking didn't like it. And I don't blame them. Because as a fan, you like what you like and you don't like what you don't like, and there's no argument about it. You know, I can't convince somebody otherwise.
Well, they went through a learning curve for sure. They, for a while, Chris was just kind of trying to get together what to play, because with Jason, they had been this dual harmony guitar thing. That's what like hooked people. That's what hooked me. And then the dual and triple part harmonies. After Jason, Chris was trying to explore different things, and because like Jason was the technical one and Chris was kind of the lead. I mean, they went back and forth between lead and rhythm and stuff, but they had their different flavors. And so Chris was trying to find which parts do I play, or how do I play both parts together as a 4-piece. And that was weird. A lot of people weren't digging it, and the band wasn't kind of digging it, and it was a weird thing for a while. Now, this is what I know about Mark. Mark grew up in Northfield, and the Big Woo played at his parents' bar. Mark grew up being a big fan as a kid, and he's played in all these bands, and he's seen it, and twist of fate and life turns. He's now got this opportunity to play with, I've talked with him like heroes of a kid growing up.
One special thing about Mark is that he grew up with the Big Woo, whether he, liked us or not. I mean, he saw us play, and he really respects the history of the band.
And what it really came down to was the following summer, Grundy was throwing these festivals down in bumfuck southern Minnesota. I can't remember, like Prairie Fest or something like that. And we had talked to Mark before, and I said, why don't you like come and like play with the bands in the band, like play with us, like join us for gigs, start joining us shows.
Well, it's funny because I came back for a while in like 2008, and I played with them for maybe a year or so. But then things didn't work out for us, and I was actually talking to Mark about this, because he and Andy are both from Northfield, and Mark's a raging guitar player. So I thought, we even talked about that being a nice fit. And he sat in before with the band so many times, and it just seems like the whole thing kind of works.
When it came evident that I may be joining the band as a musician, Jason encouraged me to play guitar for the band, and I thought that was a really, at the time, and you asked me about big shoes to fill before, and certainly those are big shoes to fill, huge shoes to fill.
The styles reflect like their personalities a little bit, which in a good guitar player it will, your personality comes out. And Jason he's very interesting and multi-dimensional emotional spectrum, and that can come out in his playing in a lot of interesting ways.
But back then it was like wherever Jason was at mentally is kind of what you would get, and that was cool because it always kept things different and more interesting.
When I think of Mark, I think of a guy that's really engaged in like all this music. You turn on the radio, he knows every fucking song, of everything.
Well, when Mark came in, it was a different flavor. It was like kind of Southern fried, and I didn't know how to take it at first, and other people too. But the more shows they've played, they've found it a lot better. And Mark, I know because they rehearse at my place, they've worked on some certain things. Like I'll say, there's certain songs like in Pinnacle and in SOS, like when they come out of the big thing. God, if you don't have those two guitars in perfect harmony, then I don't care about anything else. That's as far as I'm concerned.
When you go on stage, even though you say, okay, this is a new way we're going to approach this. This is, we're a 2-guitar band now. Well, it just doesn't happen overnight, and so, I think sometimes we put his head down and just kind of go after it, like feeling, because we just weren't quite there yet as the 5-piece Woo again.
Just having an extra member is less weight on everyone's shoulders. And with Mark, man, he'll take all the weight. He really will. And sometimes that's great. He's, you can just let him go. But he's also good at stepping back.
I think the band as a 5-piece is the way it's supposed to be. I think the spirit of the band is the same. I think the spirit of the songs, the message and the feel of a show, a feel of the audience, that spirit is still very much there. With me playing guitar, inevitably it would be somewhat different, and I think that's totally fine. It's fresh and it's new. And
Mark has been a huge shot of positivity in the band and a lot of energy. He's younger. He's just got a real, good, energetic, positive spirit. That's kind of helped revitalize the band a little bit, shake us out of our doldrums a bit.
I've learned a lot from Mark, and it's just so good. It's just like behind the scenes and on stage, he's works really hard, and I really appreciate that.
His natural enthusiasm is, kind of coming to the band, and it's like this drama remover. It just, you don't want to see anybody being a dramatic dickhead, because there's Mark just looking at you like, fuck's wrong with you? You know, your shoes on too tight. You know, you're not happy to be here. And, you know, and he's fucking winging around stage with this, you know, shit-eating grin on his face and what? That's glue to me. That's a guy who wants to be there, a guy who's happy to be there, a guy who's proud to be there. Proud to be in the Big Woo. What a fucking concept.
I'm incredibly proud of these guys. I'm proud of them as their friend. I'm proud of them as a fan. I'm proud of them as a colleague and as a fellow musician. Their ability to work through their issues, no matter how you go through it, and it's far from perfect. You know, you guys are not perfect, and no one is, but still being able to find their way through those dark periods and those times, which they have, and they continue to do so. And even when you're kind of pushed to the brink, which these guys certainly have been at different times, and they continue to kind of find a way to come back to continue doing this great, amazing thing called the Big Woo.
Yeah, when I think of like where our position in places these days, I'm happy. Yes, I've tasted some brighter lights and all the fun that comes with it, but I've seen what happens when the lights go dim. And it doesn't really matter because I'm standing there playing the same bass, you know, my favorite bass, and I'm probably wearing the same fucking shitty St. Olaf sweatshirt that I've had since the day I joined the band in 1995. And I got my eyes closed and I'm playing music. It doesn't matter, you know, how big the stage is. No, because it just doesn't matter. I probably have my eyes closed or I'm looking at Chris's shoes anyways. So from that point, it doesn't matter. I'm happy playing the music. I'm enthusiastic about understanding how fortunate I am that I can play, that I do have this toy, this wonderful, wonderful toy that keeps just giving unending amounts of joy to everyone. Except for people who can't stand the Big Woo.
That's the crazy thing about the Big Woo is the people that came together and came around them and really like made this band, because they don't have any drive themselves. I mean, really. They want to play good music so bad, and they just want to have, you know, they have that in their hearts and everything, but really like the thing that made the band go and still makes the band go is these people that came around and have all this energy and like will support them and say, you know, we need to do this. And Paul Hagen, like, oh my gosh, without Paul Hagen, none of this would have happened at all, because he just was like, hey, this band, there's something special about this band, you know, let's do this. And they said, okay, let's do this. Oh, I just can't say enough about that. It's just amazing to me that happened. And I just feel so blessed that all these people are in my life because of them. It's just awesome, so lucky. And I'll have them forever, and the Big Woo, who knows what will happen to them, but, you know.
The thing is that I'm old enough now, I'm 67, I've got, you know, I look back on my life and there are definite chapters. And the Big Woo chapter was just in a realm of its own. I mean, it was really about the family. And the fact that, you know, the Woo had their ups and downs. I mean, after Jason left, they went on as a 4-piece. I couldn't get into that. It sounded like a lame Woo cover band to me. then when Mart came along, things started to look up. I mean, that is really making a very good difference.
But I'm so glad that he's a part of this, because like I said, he brings an energy that they needed. They did a lot of farewell shows and maybe the last show, and they weren't really playing much until he came along, and I'm really glad he's here now, because now they are playing. And now if I can't make it to a show, I'm not worried that I'm never going to see him again. And that's important. I mean, I remember thinking this might be it, you know, whether it was a reunion or just a show at the Caboose or whatever. I remember thinking this could be the last time I see the Big Woo. Now it sucks.
I don't know if it will end, only because, I mean, if it didn't end by now, with all the crap we went through, I don't see how it would, unless people just, don't want to anymore. I'm still hoping to record. At least people are talking about it. I can't wait to get in the studio again, and we have new ways to be able to create music, some new editing. I mean, we could kind of go in a different direction on a few songs, and I like to see us try. So that's the carrot in front of me.
I want to make good records at this point. I mean, I want to make good music. Whether it sells or not, I guess I don't really care. I just would like to make music I like to record music. I think that there's more benefit in that, like preserving something on a CD at a timestamp at this point in my life, I've done so many live shows that that part's exciting, but it's a different realm of excitement. And hopefully it's with the members of the Big Woo and as a Big Woo unit. That's what I would like to do. Make records, or make music, I guess, in the studio.
I've always wanted to play Minnesota Moon. I've always wanted to play that too, because it's so damn catchy. That's just, that turn of phrase, and it's a rare gift in the song, in that songwriting and that crafting of the tune, where sometimes you want to embellish the story, and sometimes you just want to tell it straight up. You just walked in the door, bam, tell me what happened next, what happened after that. And it never hurts if you put the state that your band is in one song, that we actually kicked it around. We sound checked it a few times to try to see if we could pull it off, and we're like, it's just such an identifiable tune with the band. It would be like playing Freebird. We just would never do it justice. It would never have what it needed.
Well, I think like a band that's been doing it for 20 years, like the Big Woo, it's more comfortable when there's no one outside the comfort zone, inside that comfort zone. And when the guest comes in, it definitely changes everything. And the cool thing about the Big Woo is that they're always open to a jam. And me being a solo act, just playing with humans is super positive for me, and it's something I really look forward to. And I think that we share a common thread in the positivity that we're trying to get across in the music. And I think when we play together, I think it's going to shine in the sense of the positiveness, because we're kind of both on the same team.
I mean, the only advice I've ever had is, if you can play, if you can say to yourself, if everything dries up, if the money dries up, and there's no people around anymore, and I'm scraping by, working at a job somewhere, will I still play music and still write songs? And if you say, yeah, of course I will, that's not even a thought about that, then you're okay. If you say, no, if the people stop coming to my shows, I'm not going to play anymore, then it's time to look for something else to do. You've got to follow where your heart says to go. And that's the advice I got from my dad when I was a kid.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks from the bottom of my heart.
Man, I just think it's great that a band could survive for as long as the Woo has, and you go through having kids and gaining and losing members, and somehow that entity and that pile of songs keeps going, and man, that's a really valuable thing, and I hope someday to be sitting on the porch barely able to remember anything, but still having something come through every once in a while, it makes me laugh. And I think those guys are on track for that.
You know, it's the greatest time of my life, and you know, it's such a great experience to be able to play in front of a lot of people and get that energy back and forth. It's just a beautiful thing. You know, it's not about making a profit. It's not about anything. It's just something special that 5 really odd people with odd personalities somehow got together and made this happen, along with a host of other people who wanted to see it happen. Yeah. So I would say thanks for the memories. Cheers.
It's so funny because it's like I didn't think that the Big Woo was ever gonna have like a film made out of them or about them. So I don't know what this is all gonna be and how this is all gonna turn out, but thank you guys. And I think that I'm pretty sure at some point in my life I will sit down with my children and watch this video when they're old enough and get a super huge kick out of it. So that's all I can say. Thanks.
Yesterday I went riding with a long legged Lula Lamont. She's a honey pimp when we're kissing, but my heart it cries. I'm home, I'm home. I've been dancing with Lulos. I got a honeysuckle high. She's my front porch swinging mama now. She ain't even mine. It's understood that this love ain't fitting right. She let me go to the night. I bought myself a fancy suit, dog. Her tweeds what the girls prefer. Got you the sweater, new better cause off his arm was hanging, my girl. I got set up with the fastest youngest, with the bigger of the 5. They was over by 5 in the court, you know. Even got hit on my side, on my side. I've been dancing with Lulos. I got a honeysuckle high. She's my front porch swinging mama now. She ain't even mine. It's understood that this love ain't fit right. She let me go into the night. Cause I've been looking in life, but Lord, I ain't found no one who can steal my heart more next time. Woo! So I'm turning around this porcelain with the stone-legged Lula Lamont. She won't leave in the back video. Alright.
LSU.com right here. Yeah, it's not any of these. I think we're out of luck. I need a beer. Bribe me with a beer and I'll find a key. That's not it, that's not it. This could be it, probably not.
Al, why don't you put a little piece of yellow tape on it?
Yeah, but I have about 30 keys here, so. You know, I think I gave it to you.
Is that your Taliban key still?
The what?
Did you keep your Taliban key?
No. No. Okay, so I.
You're shooting the wrong way, dude.
What?
You had your teeth upside down.
No, teeth go this way. So that's not it. It's a small key. Quills has a key. What?
Steve-O's got one.
There it is. No, that's not it. It's a smaller key than that.
Tree.
It has to be like this. It says master. Oh. I think there's.
There we go.
I think this lock sucks.
Blame it on the lock.
Well, I know. No, I mean there's probably sand and a bunch of stuff inside of it. Okay. Well, I know none of these keys fit it.
All right.
Okay. That is a road case key. That's it. That's the only one. This is my left. Oh, bingo.
I don't. Nice lock too, huh? Fits in there real good.
I'm a dancing with loser, even God ain't on my side. Thank you, everybody.
Your final comment.
Nobody died. Nobody peed themselves to my knowledge. My hangover's gone. Everybody had fun. I win.